Welcome to Monday Morning Methane. I'm joined today by Ryan Keys, who is co-CEO of Triple Crown Resources, an independent operator in the Permian Basin. Ryan, welcome to Monday Morning Methane.
Appreciate it. Good morning.
Good morning. So we've been actually working together. I looked it up surprisingly since 2022. We had a project together way back in the day when Highwood supported Triple Crown in submitting a proposal to the EPA to achieve an alternative means of emissions limitation, so an alternative to the regulations in deploying advanced technology. So this was really innovative at the time. There's only two operators who have ever done this. And so when I think of the energy sector, when I think of kind of companies in this space, you're one of the CEOs who really stands out and has had a strong belief in the business case for methane mitigation. So could you share a little bit about Triple Crown's journey and why you have that belief?
Yeah, and it came from, and this is one of the advantages to being, a smaller independent, where we didn't have the resources to build like a bureaucracy around this and hire people whose job it was for reporting and for our own internal audit. So we had our own operations people who are, by definition, this is our profit center. So development people, operations people, our job is to go out and make the business money. So when we started doing this, it was from that same mindset that this has to pay off. So we didn't build a big program around it. It was a bunch of little things that made sense. And in the end, all these little things have to compete for capital, whether it's making money or mitigating risk. Which is essentially, from a free cash flow standpoint, it is essentially the same thing. So these things, all these things we had to do had to compete for capital versus drilling another well or doing a workover. So this is by definition a profit center. So it was really easy to get at that point with that mindset, get all of our people behind it. Again, it's the same people, and we all think pretty entrepreneurial, and we encourage that at Triple Crown.
So tell me a bit about the journey that you've gone through in discovering that this was, there actually is a clear business case for focusing on methane emissions.
So we treat it, like an operational project. It kind of getting into more detail what it just said about this competing for capital. Looking at the risks and rewards of each action, and this includes monitoring. The more you look, the more you find, and the more you find, like this is gas. This is literally gas that we could sell. Mm-hmm. And at the moment, it's the Waha pricing isn't very pretty, but all of our gas contains really valuable natural gas liquids as well. And when Waha sometimes gets back to normal, then it's valuable. This is cash flow and revenue we're missing out on. Mm-hmm. Being able to prioritize and commercially prevent that from leaking, it was commercially viable and did compete for capital. And sometimes this was our most profitable our most profitable operational decision to spend the money on this stuff. Some of these projects, it's not scalable, but some of these projects paid out in a matter of days or weeks. Mm-hmm. Which is one of the capital efficiency metrics is how much time for the project to pay for itself. For a well, anything under a year is fantastic. So if we're talking about like a mitigation effort, methane, at Eldar, program that pays out in weeks, we have something that's an order of magnitude better than drilling another well. So it was really easy to pull the trigger on that stuff. And we don't chase the marginal stuff, just like in drilling a well. We don't want to drill something that's really marginal that doesn't do much for the business. I mean, it's the same thing. So we don't go, and maybe it's not 80-20, maybe it's more like 90-10 or 95-5 or something. And we're spending a fraction of the capital that majors might be doing, but we're getting 95% of the benefit, and we can do that quickly. We can implement quickly as a small team.
That's fantastic. One of the reasons I wanted to chat with you today actually is that Triple Crown joined OGMP 2.0, and last week the UN released their annual report. And if you read the report in detail, you'll find that Triple Crown achieved the gold standard in methane reporting, which is among the highest accomplishments in methane reporting internationally. And not only that, it took you guys just a couple of years to do it. Most companies take 3 to 4 years to get there. So can you share a little bit about what it took to achieve the gold standard and why you joined OGMP 2.0 and what your strategy was?
Yeah, and with the lack of EPA enforcement and for new and existing regulations, we had made a lot of progress on this, and it actually cost money to de-operationalize. And we want to stay apolitical about this, and that the political pendulum swings back and forth. What OGMP seems like a standard that, at a bare minimum, the international oil and gas community, which includes us, is going to coalesce around. Maybe it doesn't look like this exact OGMP in 5 or 10 years, but we're going to be close to this. So it made sense to keep going, especially since it's profitable. I mean, even without OGMP, we would probably be doing most of these things, just because the technology's there and it makes us money. So yeah, we treated this just like an operational project without the bureaucracy. And by the time we submitted with you all, we had already done operationally all the things that were necessary. So we didn't have to go implement new technology, new databases, new people. We'd already done that. But that only got us up to the point of having the information and having the data. And this is where we're gonna plug you all. You guys made it really easy, with that data, to go from okay, how do we go from having this data to meeting gold standard? There's a lot of reconciliation. There's a lot of quantification, and there was a lot of things that we're not experts in. So you guys made it really easy. Once we had all the data, so that was the other part of it. So we get kind of a perfect storm of we'd already done everything, and people who knew what they were doing, navigating this process.
Yeah, we increasingly find and thanks for the shout out, Ryan. We increasingly find in this space that companies are amassing massive quantities of data, and kind of the emerging challenges, kind of the doubt of, are we really taking advantage of all of this data, not only from a reporting perspective, but from delivering insights back into the business to make better decisions, especially as kind of that low-hanging fruit of the most profitable, highest ROI leaks and emissions problems are addressed, and you start to get into some of the smaller stuff. One of the things that we often hear from folks within the space, especially from smaller companies, is kind of this perspective that initiatives like OGMP 2.0 were designed for super majors, really well-resourced companies, and that small independents like Triple Crown Resources don't really have the resources or the ability to participate. You guys have clearly busted this myth wide open. You got gold standard in 50% of the time that it usually takes large companies. What advice do you have for other small independents like you guys who are considering joining OGMP 2.0 or similar initiatives?
It's really like it's the team buy-in. This has been a theme that's been consistent from the very beginning, since this first started out. 5 years ago is when this focus on this issue really started ramping up. So it's buy-in from in alignment with the whole team. And if we can treat it like, instead of a compliance thing, and not to say that's not important, but if we're viewing this as like a project that makes money, it can be exciting. It's just like, look, we spent $100,000 on this, on this tank battery retrofit or whatever that paid out in I don't know, 10 weeks, and look, it added $1 million of present value to our business. Like that, those are real numbers. Like maybe not those exact numbers, but like proportionally, those are things we were doing. That's exciting. I love seeing that. People doing it, seeing that. Our field operators love seeing that. And we communicate with them how much of an impact it makes. So it's not just checking a box. It's just like we're being proactive, making the business money. So it's just alignment from the whole team, really. And we get, because we're so small, we get to have all the decision makers often on one call and one meeting. And so we can communicate all of this. So this is where being smaller is actually an advantage. We only have 34 full-time employees for about 27,000 barrels of oil equivalent a day. So this is a fraction of the super majors on both ends. And of course, we have a lot of consultants and service companies and folks in the field who are not full-time employees. This is not to diminish their contribution, but yes, we are small, and that is. It's easy to be caught up, I can imagine, in the bureaucratic red tape of a large major. You've got all these internal controls, these checks and balances, all these approvals. I mean, for us, again, we have everyone on the same call. Hey, here's an idea. Yeah, that looks good. You check off the economics, the safety, the timing. We got the equipment, we got the people. Go do it. So it's streamlined. Our process here is streamlined, just like for a workover. It's about the same approval process.
So it's kind of the opposite of the myth, whereas instead of being small being a disadvantage, you see it as an advantage because you can actually move fast, take advantage of the biggest opportunities right away. Yeah,
exactly.
That's fantastic.
Exactly.
I would be remiss to end this call without asking you about the EPA regulations and all the kind of uncertainty and the ground shifting beneath our feet in the U.S. So just curious from your perspective, how are you reacting to recent moves by the current administration and thinking about methane policy and Triple Crown's strategy?
It is a wonderful opportunity for the industry to prove that we don't need burdensome regulation. We can do this proactively, cheaply, in a way right now where we're not being forced to do anything. So let's go implement things that work, that make practical sense for us, use market-based outcomes and solutions to solve this ourselves. And we have 3 more years to do this. I mean, the last set of regulations from the last administration, it wasn't perfect. There were some things in there that I thought were really good, that aligned the industry and EPA and environmental goals. There's some really good stuff in there. There's some stuff that, kind of like, okay, well, I sort of understand why it's in there, that maybe this isn't the best way to go about this. And there's some stuff in there that was straight up scary and stupid. Taken as a whole, it seems net positive. And if our standards are, government doing something that is a net positive, that is in the general best interest of society, including the industry they're regulating, maybe it wasn't bad. And we might go back there. We might go back to that. We might go back to something that's more burdensome. That would be my worry, is that in 4 or 7 years, whenever the pendulum swings, it might swing too far. And we might be looking at Part O, B, and C and the new Subpart W rules that we're proposing rescinded as, wow, I really wish we had those. So let me get back to the optimistic part of this, which is like, hey, we don't have to do some of those things that we thought were stupid. We can do things that we think make sense. And if we prove as an industry, first Triple Crown and then as an industry, that we can bring down our methane emissions in objective ways cheaply, then those operational practices can be memorialized in the next generation of regulation when inevitably it does come. I don't know when that. So yeah, but want to harp on the fact that this is definitely an opportunity for us, and it's exciting.
It is exciting. I look forward to working on taking advantage of that opportunity with you. Thank you for your leadership in methane. Thanks for your partnership with Highwood. And thank you for joining Monday Morning Methane.
Yeah, thank you, Tom.